Okay, starting a few minutes late. Sorry, guys. I had to. I was literally shoving a sandwich in my neck, so yeah. Uh, shit. Now I need to get my face on. Wait, hold on. Three, two, one. Ah, it didn't work. Three, two, one. Yeah! Whoa! Magic. So yeah, paddleboard test, 18 minutes till the stream goes live. Yeah, I just was removed. I had something else 3D printed today, so yeah, support, and I cut myself on my removing the support. So yeah, proving again, I'm not that handy. But yeah, paddleboard test. Yeah. Um, Let me Starliner Pad abort test. Yep, let's pull that up. And let's pull the chat room up because I've already had a wonderful time doing other stuff besides. Yeah, what was I printing? Well, I took had a bit more practice with CAD software, so I printed an updated front wing for my Formula One car, which isn't spacey, but whoa! Starliner Pad abort is, when I look it up, probably this one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this full screen. Let me roll this. Why is this so? Is there so much delay? Oh no, I didn't switch it. Joke on me. Yeah, okay. Transition. Come on, transition. Go. Yeah. So this is what's gonna happen today. The Starliner will lift off from the pad, do a roll, and fire its support engine. Then it will keep control, so you can see the main engines are off. The control engines are now off also, controlling its heading, switching it around. Then parachutes will deploy, or those were to carry away the nose capsule, or the cover on top. Then the pilot shoots the main chutes, and after the main chutes deploy, they will jettison the, or at the same time, will jettison the surface module, which is, I presume, mostly a mock-up. And the capsule is a boilerplate, no functional heat shield, but I assume they would put a dummy inside to test everything. And I believe the heat shield is going to pop off, and yeah, there we go. The airbags will inflate, so it will touch down. We'll see. Well, I think it will. Hopefully, it will launch at the end, at the start of the window. That's in 26 minutes. Starliner Pad abort, yay. Keeping up my Twitter. I already had a wonderful time hosting the People of Space account, though, so if you're here coming from that, welcome. This will probably be your first time you watch me talk about rockets and space, and yeah. Well, that's it, and we're still waiting for the stream to go live, so yeah. The interesting thing I find, or the interesting thing I find from this test is that they will keep the service module attached throughout the parachute deployment phase. So the first the pilot shoots that these are. So the main phase will first be all engines on for a few seconds. Then the main engines will turn off and the smaller vernier thrusters will keep firing, then those will shut off, and only it's controlling its heading right now. Then it will flip around. Some I assume those are pilot chutes for the nose cone. Yeah, they are. They will pull the nose cone away. Then they will put. Those are the drogue chutes. They will deploy, and they will be jettisoned. Then the pilot chutes for the main parachute come out. Then the main parachutes come out, and just before they fully deploy, the for the service module gets jettisoned, which I don't fully understand why. Because as you might have seen the pad abort test from the Dragon, they fired the engines, then the jettisoned the service module, which is the trunk, which isn't really a service module because there's nothing besides solar panels on there. So I don't understand because they would probably jettison it before deploying parachutes in real life situation. But yeah, that's why I find it strange because they what they could do is jettison it right here. But I think the reason is that they don't have reaction control thrusters on the capsule itself, so it can't turn itself around. So to combat that, it would be wise to do this. Well, the jettisoning the nose cap or the nose cone while still attached, I do understand because that probably will give some problems if you jettison the. Um, you have to rotate it around and then jettison it. I do understand, but why don't not just do it under drogue chutes because you have more drag on your capsule than on your service module. So yeah, this is what I wonder because it theoretically, well, it could land right on top, but they probably did calculate it wouldn't happen. But yeah, in theory, the it could drop straight down and yeah, the SpaceX jettisoned it before it flipped, but that's because they still have active reaction control system on the capsule itself. Instead of I don't know if it will be on the capsule itself. It is on the service module because the service module apparently is a fully functional one, minus the solar panels because they don't need that. But yeah. So yeah, hold on another. I can't see the time. So to be honest, people are liking the new YouTube chat one, live stream one, but I hate it. Normally, you would just have one page uh, with your like live stream, and now if you want to plan one, you need to make a separate event, which gives you a different stream key, which you need to put in your streaming software every time you plan a new stream, and I don't think that works for me at least because you no yeah let me close off this. I don't think that works for me because yeah well it is sort of weird because it gives you more work and if you forget about it and you need to go live really soon really quick like I did it costs it's a lot of stress. It saves stress when they just revert it to the old one again. But yeah, I will keep this on replay. Can I put this again on replay? But I won't really. be useful. But yeah, the time is quite short. It's only like 2 or 3 seconds per abort. Well, I guess it's just as long uh, as the dragon one. Yeah. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. But yeah, cool. Yeah. Hi everybody, join in. Welcome. This is going to be. I will wait for the images. 8 minutes. So talk. Well, let's talk about the Starliner. So the Starliner is the what should I call it? It is not really the. It is in cooperation with the Dragon. Is going to carry astronauts, commercial crew astronauts. So NASA astronauts on a commercial vehicle to the ISS. The Starliner is probably, if this test is successful, it is in line with the Dragon, so it will be fully racing to the International Space Station with the Dragon, because the Dragon still needs to do the in-flight abort, which the Starliner doesn't need to do because they provided it with simulations the to NASA, and NASA thought that was enough. Is it the parachutes that turn Crew Dragon around? Yeah, that could be. So that is what they could have done with this, but not sure why they wouldn't. But you can look for that. Let's go to Dragon Pod abort test.
10, 9.
Let's see.
7, 6, 5.
Slightly below nominal. We're over 1 kilometer. Trunk deploy.
No, it flipped around on its own. The parachute didn't.
Good.
Parachutes didn't. It flipped around to its own aerodynamics.
Passing through 600 meters. Downrange distance.
No, it didn't. But yeah, they probably have their reasoning for jettisoning it while under parachutes. But yeah, as soon as I saw the video, I was like, okay, this is weird. Yeah, it flips because it's bottom heavy, yeah. But this one should be bottom heavy too, because the capsules have a really low center of mass. No, I think it's because of aerodynamics. Maybe it's assisted by RCS, but we can't see that. But then this one probably isn't stable enough, or it is stable in 2 positions. So it is stable front and forward and the other way around. So that could be might be that the pull would be too high if they all of a sudden flip around. Yeah. So already live for 17 minutes. So yeah, but they will be fighting with SpaceX to be the first to the ISS with crew, because they will be taking the American flag back down. So the Dragon has only needs to do the in-flight abort, which is going to happen in December, and after this, the CST 100 still needs to go to the ISS uncrewed before they can take crew. But both will still require at least one launch before they can take crew, so it will be full on race to the International Space Station, which I think is cool. letting two commercial companies race to the ISS. Because first of all, I thought Boeing was gonna win, but then their process was slower, and they still needed to do the pad abort test. But then SpaceX did the Crew Dragon demo mission the start of this year. I don't remember which month it was in, but they did it, and then I was like, okay, wow, Dragon is really catching up. But then they had the mishap with capsule, so they're once again sort of equally running right now. Because honestly, I don't know who's gonna win, because the the in-flight abort is supposed to happen in November. Why does SpaceX still need to do an uncrewed flight? No, I mean the Starliner still needs to do an uncrewed flight, not the Crew Dragon. I might have misspoken on that one. I mean the Starliner still needs to do this pad abort test, an uncrewed flight before they can take the crew up, and oh, that I meant with one rocket launch is that the in-flight abort requires a launch. It's not into orbit, but it requires a launch. So the preparation for that would be the same as you would for a launch. So SpaceX is way ahead in the race. Well, I wouldn't say so, because the in-flight abort is supposed to happen in November. So it's supposed to happen in November, right? Or December. Uh, Somebody could correct me on that. But I think at the end of November, beginning of December. Because if that is so, is if that is, I think December. Yeah, if that is the case, the uncrewed flight of Starliner is supposed to happen in December. That would mean that both timelines would line up if they, because that would be the last test flight before the CST 100 could go to the ISS with crew, and same for the in-flight abort test. So December will be equaling the timeline. So then whichever gets scheduled first is going to be the first one to go to the ISS. So it's really important that everything goes right with both tests. So yeah, early next year is going to be the first crewed flight, but then you can't say the SpaceX is ahead. They're equal, because they still need to do both. I don't count this one because the preparation is already done. They are going to try and launch it today, and I wouldn't think it isn't going to launch for some reason, unless it's weather related, of course, or technical related. But SpaceX is ready, though. Well, no, they're just as ready as Boeing, because SpaceX still needs to do one launch, and the Boeing still need, or the Boeing in this case with combined with ULA still needs to do one launch, so they're equal, and both tests happen in December. They're both for different reasons, but they're still the last tests remaining before they can go carry crew to the ISS. So SpaceX is ready, yes, but the hardware is still being tested. It is not like they can roll out the rocket tomorrow and launch and do the in-flight abort tests. No, that happens in December, so they're in line, because the crewed or the uncrewed flight of CST 100 is in December. Yes, it's way later than SpaceX, but you can't say that they are 9 months behind. because they probably would have ramped up the capsule production. The only thing is standing in the way is the crew deck and test fire on Wednesday. Yes, but then again, they still need to prepare the full rocket, which I think the parts are already there, but it still takes the. They are not gonna launch earlier than December. When does the actual test start? There's a 3 hour window between right now, so I'll turn on the sound.
West of the test stand,
And
and the mission director center is another
so 3
500
hours.
feet or so west of us. So we did our launch minus 30 poll about what was it, 20 minutes ago. All good. All goes across the board. The wind at this point, that windsock over there behind us, is really barely moving. Wind slightly out of the east, so we are looking really good.
And there's just there's a couple of key objectives that we're going to be looking for today. What are we really, because obviously we're going to see those launch abort engines fire. That's going to be the first that's going to kick off a really quick sequence of this pad abort.
Yeah, so absolutely. So pad abort test is really a test of Starliner's end-to-end functionality of our abort system. So, we have to make sure that we can keep the crew safe in the unlikely event that there's an emergency. And Starliner's abort system is really designed to be able to successfully abort at all phases of flight. So not just on the pad, but all the way up the ascent profile. And, we've tested this system at the component level, we've tested at the, subsystem level, and now we're testing at the integrated system performance level. So we really want to make sure that all these systems are going to work together so that we can keep our crew safe. So some of the things that you really want to keep in mind is we really want those launch abort engines to be able to propel that spacecraft away from the launch vehicle adapter that's actually right there at the pad today, filling in for United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket. So we've got 4 major launch abort engines, 40,000 pounds of thrust each, and we've got about a dozen or so OMACs, which are orbital maneuvering and attitude control thrusters, 1,500 pounds each. So we really want to see them propel that spacecraft safely away in the unlikely event of an emergency. The next thing you want to really look out for is guidance, navigation, and control. We really have to be in control of that spacecraft the whole time, and it's got to go in the general direction that we need it to go, right? Especially on launch day, if this were the real thing, we've got to be able to make it over to the Atlantic Ocean. And then, all of our separation events have to work properly. You got to see the parachute sequence, jettison.
Is this the same one?
Separation events have to work properly. You got to see the parachute sequence, jettison and initiate correctly. And then really one of the other main separation events that I just want to mention for you is you're going to see the service module separate from the crew module. And that's a really critical separation event. And I'm going to walk you through an animation here in just a minute. But before I do that, just keep in mind that service module is going to separate from the crew module. It's going to free fall to the ground, and some residual propellant that's left over in that vehicle may actually ignite, and it may flame a little bit. You might actually see a colored smoke trail, but that is exactly what we expect to happen. Keep in mind, if this were the real thing, it'd be
That's
landing
not
in the
really
ocean,
good
but
smoke.
today it's landing on the desert.
So if we see some extra fireworks today, it is expected, and that's you'll be seeing what we expect.
Yeah.
So why don't we go through the animation?
Yeah, it's absolutely expected. I mean, this
That's
is going to be a really
hyperbolics.
dynamic couple of minutes. Let me take you through
That's
it here.
bad.
So you're going to have those launch abort engines ignite. Those LAEs are going to fire for about 5 seconds. Those OMACs are going to continue to fire intermittently for another 5 seconds. That just gets the spacecraft in the right trajectory. And then this is all going to go pretty fast. Before you know it, the spacecraft is going to start to do its pitch around maneuver, which gets itself in the proper orientation to land. You're going to see that ascent cover and that forward heat shield jettison together, followed by the parachute sequence. 2 drogue parachutes, followed by 3 pilot parachutes. That's jobs are really just to bring out the mains. And then you're going to see 3 main parachutes deploy. And really, parachutes are really pulling double duty here, because not only are they designed to bring the crew module safely and slowly back down to the ground, but they're also being jettisoned at the proper time, or deployed at the proper time to make sure the spacecraft is in the proper orientation to properly separate that service module from the crew module. But like I said, you want to keep your eyes on that crew module because that's where, of course, our precious cargo is. About 60 seconds into flight, that base heat shield is going to jettison, and that allows for those gorgeous landing airbags to deploy. You know, keep in mind here, Starliner is going to be the very first American-made orbital crew capsule to land on land, and you're going to get a bit of a preview of that today.
That's right, and we've been out here a couple of times doing those landing tests. One of the prime landing zones for Starliner is going to be here at the White Sands Space Harbor, actually right by an old runway that the shuttle landed on one time in its program on STS-3. So a lot of exciting stuff happening today. It is important to note, I mean, this is a challenging test. We're really putting the vehicle in kind of one of the most dynamic situations it could possibly be in. You're simulating getting the crew out of an extremely dangerous situation. And at NASA, we have some pretty recent history with just how important systems like these are. Our astronaut Nick Hague just last year in October was on a Russian Soyuz spacecraft, and it aborted while he was on his way uphill, but he was able to land successfully thanks to an abort system along with his crewmate Alexei Ovchinin. So really important test here today, a really important system, but it just feeds into what we need to do to make sure when we're ready to go put crew on one of these spacecraft, they're going to be in a safe place.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think the Boeing team thinks about that all the time. You know, we are constantly thinking about safety and how we can absolutely make sure that our crew is in the safest vehicle that we could possibly make. You know, I just want to, you know, show you some video actually from the Starliner production factory in Florida.
You know what what sound it makes when it hits the ground?
You know, the gentleman you see signing it here, his name is
Boeing.
Kevin, and he's one of our lead technicians.
He's
told me before, you know, hey Jess, if something's not right, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm going to come in the next day and we're going to get it right. And you know, you see here, you've got our Boeing president and CEO of Boeing Defense Space and Security, Leanne Corrett.
Every time she says
Boeing,
I in my mind it goes Boeing.
A little note to her father, who actually worked on the Apollo program. Leanne was actually born on the Space Coast, so the space heritage is in her family, and you know the entire Boeing team is behind space in this particular program.
Yep. And we're actually hearing on our loops right now that they are going to be in a hold for a second. We're going to take a few moments to figure out what's happening, but we're still getting some great views of Starliner.
This feels like a Blue Origin
with that service module, so stay with us for just a couple of moments. We'll get a new updated time on what our countdown was.
So yeah, the only the hardware for the in-flight abort is at the Cape, but they are not going to put that together till December. So well, they'll probably start halfway through November putting that together, because that's sort of special hardware, because the rocket is going to be blown up. So yeah, they need to be careful, and I think they want to double, triple, maybe quadruple check everything, so it is perfect to show the capability of the Dragon to abort. But this test is, well, if they successfully complete this, it's going to equal them with Boeing. Yeah, that's the meme I meant. Okay, I'm gonna show this. I'm not gonna log on my Facebook, but yeah. Let me switch to the other camera. Hold on. This is what I'm thinking of every time someone says Boeing. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
we are currently in a hold We're just still standing by to see what issue the teams are working. We'll get a new T0 time to you hopefully in just a little bit. But we do have a 3-hour window today.
Yes,
So
we
7
do.
o'clock Mountain was right at the start of our window. So there is plenty of time for the teams to, take it slowly, make sure they're not working any issues before we see
Come
Starliner
on,
take to the air.
focus.
That's right. And, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that team.
I burned my
Our
finger
flight director for today
because
is
I
actually
touched
Alicia
the hot
Evans.
end of my
Alicia
printer,
led
which
the
is
team through,
200
Starliner's
degrees
environmental
Celsius, which
qualification,
I don't know what that
testing,
is in
a
Fahrenheit, but
campaign that
yeah,
we really passed with
that's
flying
hot.
colors.
I found
So
out the
we are
hard way.
incredibly proud of Alicia. Excited to hear her on the flight loop today. And then you'll
Whoops,
also be
yeah,
hearing from
well.
Jim Harder. He is our flight dynamics officer. You're going to hear him coming up here in just a little bit. Go ahead and give us all of the milestones as they happen during the test. But while we wait, I actually want
Are
to
we
take
sure
us back and roll some video
Boeing
here
is
of
conducting
the
this
team
launch
rolling out the spacecraft
and
in
not,
preparation for launch.
not Blue
So
Origin, because
this
they
is
are from the
actually, and
Holt.
we'll kind of give our production team a second here to kind of get that video ready to go. But what was really incredible about this operation is it's one of the most hazardous and complicated operations that the team will do. You see the spacecraft here coming out of the FIDIF, which is our test facility here on site at Launch Complex 32, and you see it roll out of that building. Now, this entire operation took. They started about 5 o'clock in the morning. It took them until about 10 o'clock to kind of get it up into place. But just think about it. This is a fully fueled vehicle that they're rolling out here. And I believe it was a 100-ton crane that they used to get it up onto the gantry.
Wow.
And then, they had to hand torque 200
Oh, share screen, sorry.
bolts
Hold
to
on.
get it in place. So really,
I messed this
proud of
up.
the team there. They had practiced for a couple of weeks.
Sorry, guys.
Jeff Bertelson, who is our recovery lead for this test, was telling us about it the other day. And, they practiced with some of what we call our boilerplate vehicles, which are what we use to practice our landing, airbags, and our parachutes with. So just really proud of them, and they really got the job done.
Yeah, and the rest of the team, they've been on console since at least 10
I already
o'clock
did,
of
sorry,
last night.
Simon.
So they've been working through the overnight hours
Sorry.
to get everything ready for our test
I
today.
messed
Again,
up.
we have a 3-hour window.
No.
It just opened at 7. Teams, if you're just now joining, they are taking a look at a couple of things on the spacecraft. So we're waiting on a T-0. But as soon as we hear it, we will be letting you know. But still getting some great views. We're going to have views via some tracking cameras from the White Sands folks here at Wismar. They do a lot of missile testing and things like that, so they have these cameras that can track things going very fast through the air, so it's perfect for a test like today.
Yeah.
And this is also going to be one of the prime landing sites, if not the prime, for Starliner once it's flying. I
gotta say, the White Sands Missile Range and White Sands, they're just incredible partners of ours. The United States Army, we really couldn't do it without them. They're such an integral part of the Starliner team. Like you said, we've got 2 landing
Just
zones
light
here
the
at White
candle
Sands.
and go.
This is also
I don't know
where
what the
we
problem
do
is.
our
That
parachute
is.
testing right on the other side of the mountain here. In addition to that, this is where we did our service module hot fire test, and of course our pad abort test today. So we could not do it without the U.S. Army and White Sands. They're incredible partners of ours. And from what I understand, you're pretty familiar with White Sands as well, are you not?
Yeah, we actually used the exact same stand for our Orion spacecraft's pad abort a few years ago. And I've had the opportunity to come out with the
I
Boeing
didn't know
teams a
that.
couple of times now.
Something
to do
I
these practices,
learned.
For landing and recovery. It's
I don't know
really
everything.
exciting.
I know a
I've
lot,
got some
but not
experience
everything.
doing it
Not
over
everything.
in Kazakhstan with the Russian Soyuz. This is completely different environment, completely different team. But it's really exciting. It's usually a little bit warmer when we're out here. I think it usually gets up around 100 during the summer because we've been out here in July and August. It's a little cooler this morning, but it's not too bad. And we haven't had any weather constraints as we heard earlier.
No, we have not. I think, it did get a little cold, so I know the team was looking at our helium tanks, wanting to make sure that they stay at the right temperature overnight. And, we do have a little bit of a wind constraints, 15 knots, but that's really just so that we can get the gantry rolled back. So the weather has been fine, and I'm really excited to watch this test happen because we're going to go about 650 miles an hour in probably about 5 seconds. There's going to be so many dynamic events happening that we're going to get data on during this 2-minute test. And I know this is one in particular that the team's really excited to see happen.
That's right. And again, if you're just joining us, we are waiting on a new T-0, so new launch time for the pad abort. Does sound like we're getting close. We're going to just pause for a moment, listen in, and then we should be able to get you that new launch time in just a moment.
I want to know what the problem is, because that's the other thing, like this. You normally with ULA and SpaceX, you hear what the problems are, because you can hear and listen into the what's the loop called, the launch loop, or where the launch director is on talking with other people. But yeah, you can't hear that right now, so yeah, I don't know what the problem is, which makes it easier for us to say, well, just get on with it. But if you don't know what the problem is, well, I want to know. And every time a rocket has a hold for extended for something like the Atlas 5 or the Delta 4, and they have a problem, I find it cool to find out what the problem is just from listening in to the listening into the launch loop. I guess that is what it's called. And then if you hear there was a launch, I think it was WGS9, that had a problem with the swingback arms have on the Delta 4 have a sort of lock pin that has to be pulled before they can enable it to retract. But that lock pin wasn't pulling out, so they had to troubleshoot it, and I found it quite funny that I immediately knew what they were talking about. And I believe they had some helium leaks and hydrogen leaks, which they call it technical webcast. No, that's what they called it on SpaceX before they removed it. But there's a loop on their radios where everybody talks to each other, and it is a launch team, so I guess it's called the launch loop or something like that. Countdown net, yes. Thank you, Simon. That's what it's called.
All right, we are here, and we do have a new T-0 time. We're now looking at 7:15 Mountain, 9:15.
Yep, it looks like the team was just taking another look
quick.
at propellant pressurization. Want to take another look at what they saw on screen, and they say, hey, we're still doing okay. So we're going to go ahead and just reset to 7:15, and that is taking a look at the clock here.
That
is not too far away at all, is it?
Yeah, we should
hard for us
just
to
be
see the
about
clock.
7 minutes
7
away
minutes
now
away. Great.
from this liftoff. And again, if you're just joining, our original T0 is 7. Worked a quick prop issue. Now we're good to go at 7:15.
That's right.
If you want, why don't we show them again? Because this is going to be a really dynamic, a really quick test. As Jessica said, 650 miles an hour.
It's going to be
just 5 seconds.
under
so that thing's
2
gonna shoot off
minutes,
that
which
pad
is
really
quick.
quickly.
Yep.
And why don't you walk us through again one more time?
Absolutely. So, and that's exactly what we want to see, right? We want to see all those launch abort engines fire with those OMACs, and we want to see that spacecraft really shoot off that launch pad. Like you said, 650 miles an hour in about 5 seconds. We're going to hit apogee here pretty quickly. I think we hit it in about 19 seconds. We're going to start to make that pitch around maneuver that just gets the spacecraft in the right orientation to open up that landing sequence. And that's initiated really by once you see that ascent cover and forward heat shield come off, that really allows the parachute sequence to begin. You're going to see 2 drogue
Well, there's actually a
parachutes,
docking
followed by
system
3
on the
pilot
Starliner.
chutes, and
That's cool.
that really just bring out the mains there. And again, those parachutes
Makes me
are
wonder,
really pulling double duty here for
the
this test.
Starliner
Not
is actually
only do they have extra weight
reusable,
of the service module, module attached, right? And their main job is really to make sure that they bring that crew module down slowly and safely. But in addition
they
to
will
that,
use
they're
this one
deploying at a certain
for
time
flight.
that kind of pulls the spacecraft back and gets it in a proper orientation to safely release that service module. Then you're going to see, that bucket handle release, like you just saw. That's also pretty critical. That allows us to, come down nicely in stable 1, which is just right on the top of our airbags. And then you would see that base heat shield jettison, which allows those landing airbags to deploy. And I got to tell you, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that today.
Service
our team
module
has worked so
lands.
hard to
They
make
could
sure
have,
we can design a
instead of a
system that is
land,
safe
they
and
should
is
have put
also
litho
one that's
brakes
reusable
on
and
there.
landing on land. These
Litho braking
Starliner
is
crew modules
using,
are
like,
reusable
braking using the
spacecraft.
ground,
And one of the ways that we're able to do that
which is
is because we
basically
land on land.
crashing.
Yeah, and
So many moving
important
parts, yeah.
to, add again for people, the service module is going to come off and it is going to impact the ground, and there will be some residual fuel on board that may ignite. So if you see that, it is totally expected.
Yep.
And as we talked about, they're going to land on land for the real thing, but if we were in a pad abort scenario on a real day, they have the Atlantic Ocean that they'd be going over, so that service module will be dropping in the water, followed shortly after by the crew capsule under the parachutes.
That's correct. And, we can talk just a little bit, too, about how the team plans to do some of the recovery after today's test is complete. So the crew module, of course, will be recovered, taken back to Launch Complex 32 for evaluation and analysis. And we really want to make sure that we get all the data back off that crew module. We are flying an anthropomorphic test dummy in there, and so we want to get all the data back from our ATD as well, and that data is really critical. So we're going to go out, we're going to recover it, we'll bring it back to the launch site for evaluation and analysis. Now the service module is a little different, and a combined team of Boeing, the U.S. Army, and an environmental and industrial services company called Clean Arbors is actually going to go out. We're going to safe the vehicle and then properly dispose of it. And I think that is going to be a process that'll take probably 2 or 3 days. We do have some data that we're hoping to get off the service module too, but I guess that'll depend
ULA
on
isn't
the
launching
state that it's
this.
Yeah, but we're less
Well,
than 5
ULA is
minutes
launching
away.
this in
Again,
real
that
life,
launch
but
time right now is set for 7:15 Mountain, 9:15 Eastern time.
You know what I mean.
In just a couple of minutes, we're going to bring up the actual launch control loop, where you're going to be able to hear the flight director and some of the other folks. Again, walk us through who are we going to be hearing on these loops this morning?
Yeah, so once again, you're going to be hearing from Alicia Evans. She is our flight director today. And Alicia, like I said before, led our environmental qualification test campaign. And that was a really critical test campaign for us, because what we do is we go ahead and we build a full spacecraft, and then we send it off to California. Our folks at El Segundo out there, they were just amazing for our environmental qualification campaign. And what we do is we shake it and bake it, is kind of what we say in the spacecraft world, where we make sure that we put it through the exact same conditions that it's going to see on orbit. We make sure that it can handle the swings in temperature, the radiation and all of those types of things. And like I said, passed with flying colors. Alicia led that campaign. She is now leading Starliner's very first flight test. We could not be more proud of her. And then once again, you're also going to hear from Jim Harder. He is our flight dynamics officer today. So you'll hear the liftoff line coming from Alicia, and then the rest of the events in this sequence, you're going to hear from Jim. So at this point, we are T-minus 2 minutes and proceeding to launch.
T-minus
so
2
Jim
minutes.
and I are going to go on ahead and listen right on in with you.
Go Starliner.
Go, go, go.
All commands are complete.
Copy that, Slick.
Stand by for final abort command.
Copy that.
Let's go. Hey Matthew, welcome.
L-minus 1 minute and counting.
Okay, 1 minute from launch. So yeah, we'll see it go up. The engine, the big engines will fire for 5 seconds. Then the small thrusters will fire for another 5 seconds. Then apogee is about a kilometer,
40,
and then we'll go down under parachutes. So listen in
30 seconds and counting.
30. It's really gonna be real quick, so I'll just shut up.
20 seconds and counting. 9, 8, 7,
6,
5, 4, 3,
3, 2,
1,
1.
0.
Abort. Ooh.
Liftoff.
Oh, that's
Roll complete. I'll let you cut
ooh.
off.
That's quick.
On track.
No
Almost cut
sound
off.
though. That's disappointing.
around.
Pitch around. There we go.
42
Pilot
parachute.
deployed. There we go to drogues. There we go pilots main chutes.
Stroke parachutes mains.
And we should see service module separation. There we
SM
go.
set.
And this should touch the ground somewhere around now. It should be falling. There we go. I only see 2 parachutes. There were supposed to be 3, right? Or am I
Fully disread.
not
Base heat shield jettison.
seeing this correctly? There we go. Airbags
Airbags
deployed.
inflating.
There are only 2 parachutes on, and I saw 3 pilots, so 1 parachute got ripped off. There we go, touchdown.
Touchdown.
Ooh, that's looking nasty. That's UDMH and N204 probably burning.
All right. Well, we have Starliner taking to flight for the very first time and touching down safely and beautifully on the desert floor. That was just incredible, Dan. It's kind of hard not to get a little bit emotional over here
Well,
just watching it, but that was
one of the
phenomenal.
parachutes got
Initial
ripped-
indication
got
is that
ripped
we've had a
off,
very
so-
successful pad abort test today.
That's right. It went off, it lit off, and I mean, when you're standing here watching it in person, that thing's really moving when you see it get up off the pad. And then the sound hits you about 5 or 6 seconds later.
We
You just
didn't-
get that rumble across the desert floor
Yeah.
as Starliner's already streaking through the sky.
Absolutely, and to see it touch down like that. Now you did see touchdown under 2 good mains, which is certainly within the bounds of the acceptable bounds for this particular test. We have tested with 2 good mains and qualification, and that is acceptable for our landing sequence. So this was just
Yeah, so one of the
incredible to
parachutes got
watch this
ripped
test.
off. I'm
And
correct.
it was just absolutely unbelievable. We're going to take just a
Party.
little look at a
No.
replay here. Again, I hope you didn't blink because 650 miles an hour in 5 seconds, that thing sure did shoot off the test stand, didn't it? You have the launch abort engines firing, those 4 launch abort engines, 40,000 pounds of thrust off the stand, OMAX. Another 1,500 pounds of thrust each on those. Those continue to fire. You
Like
saw
current winds are calm.
the pilot parachutes
that.
pulling out the mains there after that pitch around maneuver, and then of course you saw the service module
Like-
at some point.
Yeah, there
cut
were
away.
3, so one of them
Um,
got ripped off just after.
And it just, I mean,
they
what
were
an
supposed to
absolutely beautiful
inflate.
sight. Parachutes really
That's
doing
probably
their
because
job
the
here in
extra
terms of
mass
making
of
sure that
the-
they can
the
get the
service
spacecraft
module.
in the right orientation to safely release that service module down to the ground. And of course, you know, we want to keep our eyes on
Well,
that crew module. You know, I think our folks
the
back in
service
Florida are gonna
module
be really
normally, if
interested,
this would
to
happen
see the data
in
come
real
out of this
life,
test
this
today,
service
for
module
sure.
would crash into the
We saw
ocean
2
and sink
out of 3
probably quite
parachutes, but that is a
quickly,
stable condition,
and water
that's
would
just kinda
do
goes
the
into what we
rest
have
of
in
the
space flight
job.
redundancy.
So
And
Yep,
if you've ever
absolutely.
been around anyone
And
from NASA or Boeing or any of the space
the
companies,
crew would have to
redundancy,
wait
redundancy,
anyway
your
before
backups are our
before
backups,
they
that
would
whole
get
thing.
taken
That's
out of the
just really a great
spacecraft. So
example of
this
how
wouldn't
you're able to
be
work even
a
when
really
things don't go
huge
exactly
problem.
as they're designed.
Yep,
And
and
so
actually
great
we
touch.
could have.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna do
you know, our
anything
fault
about it
tolerance on
because
that is
the
really, you know, one drove out
parachutes
as well
they
as
are
one main
certified
out,
for
so
2
we do
goods.
have redundancy, like you said, built
So
in. And it's just,
I don't
again,
know.
it's just so incredible to see those landing airbags
It was
on our
successful.
spacecraft touchdown. You know, it's going to be incredible to watch it on a return to mission here coming up. Right around the corner, December
right in the holidays.
17th. Yep, absolutely. You know, I know, I just want to give a quick shout out to our folks at the Starliner production factory in Florida that I know are watching right now. Also our folks in Houston that are watching, and our folks all around the country.
Twitter is
You
going
know,
to be
they
fun,
have
yeah.
worked so incredibly hard.
This
for
was a
moment
better
today,
Boeing.
and to see a spacecraft that they built
Okay, I find that's quite
on
fun.
a launch pad for the very first time just means so incredibly much.
I
And
need
I'll
to
tell you what,
do
you guys,
that.
it was just as beautiful in person as you would have as you would imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, there it sits. We'll continue giving
We
some
need
of
to
these,
get the
giving you
video
some
of
of these great
this.
views and maybe even a couple of replays. We're gonna hang
want
out
the
for a little bit. We
Boeing.
know that a couple of people were here watching, including our first Starliner crew.
That's right.
So we're hoping to get them over here in just a couple
Yeah.
of minutes and come celebrate
Absolutely.
with us.
Yeah, and you know, let me just again, you know, remind folks how we're going to be recovering the spacecraft today. That crew module that you see there, that's going to be recovered, brought back to Launch Complex 32 for evaluation analysis. Again, you know, we want to make sure we get all the data off that spacecraft. Of course, the initial indication
they're
here
gonna
is that
look
we've had a
into the
successful
parachute
test, but,
failure.
you know, we really
but,
want to take a hard look at all the data and
it
hand
won't
that
stop
over to NASA, and of course make sure that
in-flight
everything worked as well
like
as
the
it appeared to look to us.
demo flight
And
to the ISS.
the service module is another.
Well, I don't
it's
think
gonna
the
be
crew is
recovered
shitting
slightly
themselves
different. Like I
because
said, that we're gonna get a little bit of
the
data off that
capsule
service module
is
if we can,
certified.
depending on the
It's
condition that
good
it's
for
in.
2, so.
But
But
combined team
it's
of Boeing,
quite
the U.S.
rare
Army,
that
and an
one of
environmental
them
and
pulls
industrial
off
services
cleanly
company called
because
Clean Arbors. They're going to go out. We're going to safe that
you
vehicle.
can see it
And
afterwards.
we're going to go ahead and properly dispose of it. So really exciting. The crew module, of course, we're going to keep around, possible reuse. You know, there's, of course, flight hardware on there that we could potentially reuse if we needed to. But, you know, once again, the key here is those crew modules are reusable vehicles. You know, we have two
They don't land
additional
in the
spacecraft
water, so
back at our production facility in Florida. Of course, the Starliner.
Yeah,
that's going
Boeing,
to be,
SpaceX has for
launching
this
here in
reason.
December,
That's true.
for our first uncrewed orbital flight test to the International Space Station.
SpaceX,
and then we
but
have the
SpaceX needs
spacecraft
3,
that
I
is going
believe,
to
because
launch
the
crew.
capsule
Actually, the very
is
first spacecraft
heavier.
that we built, sent out for environmental qualification
But I don't
testing
know for
that Alicia
sure.
was a part of, and we've got that spacecraft in the factory as well. In fact, you might have seen.
But knowing SpaceX, they
some,
probably
photo
put
of,
on 4
of
if they
our,
need 3
orbital
because,
flight test
well,
vehicle, complete and fully
double
built,
redundancy.
and actually rolling into one of our hazardous processing areas for fueling, getting ready to roll out to the pad.
Everything's on track for Starliner's first flight to space and to the International Space Station. We've already put out some news on that. Right now we're targeting this.
Come on, let me. I want to see that burning pile of
Might be a good idea to
hypergolic hardware.
Yep, and hey, I'll tell you
SpaceX
this,
Mark
Starliner
III
is
shoots
the
are really good.
very
Well,
first,
I haven't. I did see the
spacecraft
test
both
video,
built
but
and launched right in Florida. So if
for
you
us,
live on the
there's
Space Coast,
not
we
a
really hope to
really
see you come on
visible
out and
difference
support your
between Mark
hometown
II
girl
and
and
Mark
watch her
III.
fly, because that's going to be really incredible.
Yeah, there's a couple of things.
Only the
just coming up
engineers
over the next
will
several weeks.
know
Starliner
what
itself is
the-
going to get fueled up in that C3PF.
Well, we know
Correct.
that
production
they
facility
switched
where the
out some
Starliner's being
materials,
built.
but
Following
yeah.
that, it's going to get rolled over to the
13
ULA
perfect tests in a
vertical
row. Yeah,
integration facility.
that's
I'm trying to get all
pretty
my
good.
acronyms right as I
Yep,
go
hey, you're
through all
doing a good
this.
job.
ULA actually stacking the rocket today, so getting it ready. And again, we're targeting December 17th for that launch. It'll be a flight up to the space station. It'll get there in just about a day, I think, is the latest dynamics. That can change depending on where the station's altitude is over time. It'll be about a day up there. It'll dock. It'll be the first successful docking of Starliner. They'll have it there for a couple of days, and then we'll meet it right back here just a couple of days after.
Yep, absolutely. It's really incredible. Taking another look here at this crew module on the desert floor. Very first time Starliner takes flight. Just with, I mean, I gotta say, to see it come down and touch down on the desert there under those landing airbags, it just is. We're going to be making history when it does that on a return to space mission here coming up in December, like you said. But to see it today, it's hard not to get a little bit emotional. Just
Yeah,
knowing the folks
the
back
camera
at home who
operators
have just put
were
their
a bit
hearts and souls into this.
shaky.
It's funny because
But
I showed
that's
a little
probably
bit of
because
footage of the
the
spacecraft being
capsule
signed in
has
Florida
a pretty high
before,
acceleration.
I talked a little bit about
And then
Kevin. I don't think I
it
mentioned Jana, who was
goes
also
back
in
down to
that file footage. And here's a really funny fact about her. Her daughter actually says that the spacecraft is her younger
SpaceX
brother.
sniper. Good one,
Because
Matthew.
her
Good
mom
one.
just spends so much time and the dedication that she's put into the spacecraft as one of our lead wiring technicians. And it's just the Starliner production factory, folks in Florida, folks in Houston, and all across the country who've helped us out and have just put their hearts and souls into this program. Are full of folks like Kevin and Jana, and really hoping that they are just grinning from ear to ear this morning and getting ready to celebrate.
And again, if you're just now tuning in, you are looking at Starliner. It's on the desert floor. That pad abort was done successfully. Our T0, so our launch time was 7:15 a.m. Mountain, 9:15 a.m. Eastern. If you didn't catch it, we'll have some more replays coming up for you because it was over in a flash. I think it was from start to finish. It's only about a 95-second test or so.
Correct.
So it's over quick, but we got to see all of the events happen in sequence, those 4 launch abort engines firing, throwing Starliner up in the air away from the pad, and then getting it in the right orientation, pitching around using those thrusters on the side, getting good shoots or good drogues out, the service modules separating.
Correct.
Everything looked fantastic this morning. 2 good mains, so still in a stable configuration.
Yep.
The airbags inflating and touching right down on the desert floor.
The capsule for the crewed test flight is already built.
The acceptable bounds of this test. Here we go. We're going to replay it again. Here,
Boeing and SpaceX are
for you.
leveled.
So just in case you're just now tuning in, at this point, you see that pitch around maneuver happen.
Yeah. Well, we already saw this replay again, so.
Those, as it prepares to go ahead and start the parachute sequence, you saw those look to be those 2 drogues, followed by those 3 pilots.
That one of them got ripped off.
The mains.
Well, yeah.
And
Shut up. Yeah. Okay. That was the streaming out for today. That was short. Well, it was actually longer than it was supposed to. But yeah, thank you for watching again. And if you saw this later from the People of Space Twitter account, please so let me start over again with that. If you came over from that account, please consider subscribing, because I try to do this as much as I can, and I like it, and as you see, I know quite a lot about it, so yeah. Try me, I would say, and yeah, well, what files on the service module failed to close? Is that literally tweeted out, or did you say that? Is that true? Wait. Oh. Somebody took some screenshots. Well, let me show you. No, my observation. No, that is bye. See you, Natasha. No, the what it is the burnout of the the shut off the engines, but what happens is propellant still remains in the but that is because it isn't, and it's N204, that's orange, it's not UDMH, but well, it's UDMH and N204 that they are using, but the N204 is the red part. But what happens is they shut down one of them earlier, and probably um, there was some residual left um, in the combustion chamber, which vaporized and then poof went everywhere. Because it's liquid, but then it vaporizes pretty quickly, and then you get this giant rich red smoke. But yeah, what I was gonna show is that somebody on Twitter quickly took screenshots. Here you can see. Let me pull up myself so I can see what I'm doing actually. Here you can see the like the before. So this drug chute is pulling clean off. So it might just be the pilot chute that failed and not the parachute itself. Because they're looking like this. It looks like the pilot chute, instead of holding on, just teared off or was separated before it could even take the canister of the main parachute out. Yeah. Because the orange blobs you can see are actually the bags in which the parachutes are stored, and then the like the lines of the parachute pull them out. So looking like one of the pilot chute actually failed. Let me respond to that. But yeah, if you are new to this, me streaming, well, consider subscribing and joining the chat room every once in a while, or just watch me. I can talk about rockets for ages, so yeah. Thank you for watching, and follow me on the other account, because I'm going to explain my rocket project this afternoon on Twitter. Still haven't made a video about it, but yeah, the designs aren't final, so I can't really talk about it in depth, really. But yeah, go, and then see you later. Thank you for watching, and bye.